The Honest Dog, a story of loyalty and truth. Once upon a time, in a small town nestled between green hills, there lived a dog named Max. Max was a golden retriever with a shiny coat and eyes full of warmth and loyalty. He was known throughout the neighborhood as the most honest animal anyone had ever encountered. While the townsfolk loved him for his gentle nature, they also admired him for a rare quality: his unwavering truthfulness. Max had a family who loved him dearly, the Millers. Mr. Miller was a kind-hearted man, a farmer who worked long hours in the fields. Mrs. Miller was a schoolteacher, patient and thoughtful, and their two children, Lucy and Tom, adored Max. He was always by their side, from the early morning walks to the evening sittings by the fireplace. One day, while Mr. Miller was away at the market, Mrs. Miller and the children went into town for an afternoon. As they left, they accidentally left the door to the kitchen ajar. Max, being a curious dog, noticed the scent of freshly baked bread on the counter. He couldn't resist. He wandered into the kitchen and took a loaf of bread from the counter, nibbling on it until only crumbs remained. When the Millers returned, they noticed the crumbs on the floor. Mrs. Miller immediately assumed that Tom had snuck into the kitchen. She scolded him gently, though he denied it. Tom had a mischievous streak, but he always swore he hadn't taken the bread. Max watched from the corner of the room, his eyes wide as the argument continued. The truth was clear to him, but how could he explain it? That night, when Mr. Miller returned, he noticed Max's unusual behavior. Max had always been a playful dog, but tonight he sat quietly by the door, head lowered, not even wagging his tail. He had something on his mind. Mr. Miller noticed the breadcrumbs on the floor, and then the sad look on Max's face. He knew something wasn't right. Max couldn't take it anymore. He walked up to Mr. Miller, nudged his hand with his nose, and then turned towards the kitchen, looking back as if asking for forgiveness. Max had always been a dog of few actions, but in that moment, it was clear. He had eaten the bread. Mr. Miller, seeing the honesty in Max's eyes, smiled softly. He called the family together and told them about the dog's quiet confession. "Max didn't mean to upset anyone," he said. "He just wanted a bite. But he's too loyal to lie. We should always be honest, just like him." Max's simple act of honesty healed the situation, and instead of scolding anyone, the Millers all laughed at the mix-up. From then on, the dog was known not just for his loyalty, but for his honesty. In a world where honesty often feels rare, Max showed them all that even animals have a lesson to teach about truth. Max's story wasn't just about a loaf of bread. It was about how, in a world filled with misunderstandings, sometimes the clearest truth comes from the purest heart.